War destroys the most important institution, not the government, not the NGOs, not the United Nations. The most important institution that war destroys is the family. Life in conflict is not easy. And I can also say that it's very difficult for something good to come out of war. Clouded with the suffering, struggle for survival, struggling for what to eat, where to sleep, what to wear. The uncertainty that surrounds you, not knowing if you'll wake up alive at night, or you'll not be abducted, or you'll even have something to eat.
Africa has faced some major challenges in peace, security, and development, which have really shaped the continent's path. Currently, about a third of African countries are dealing with conflict, leading to a disproportionate share of global poverty and instability. Africa lags behind on most SDGs, particularly those focused on poverty, hunger, health, education, and energy access. This multidimensional poverty is a key driver of instability, creating a vicious cycle that's tough to break.
The absence of the state in many African regions has led to a significant erosion of state legitimacy. This phenomenon is particularly evident in areas where the state fails to provide basic public services, enforce the rule of the law, or maintain order. Where the state is absent, non-state actors, including terrorist groups, often fill the vacuum.
When economic conditions are poor, communities become vulnerable to recruitment by non-state actors. Extremist and criminal groups take advantage of these vulnerabilities to gain support and influence.
Africa has the potential to define its own development pathway by solving its triple paradox, the triple paradox of finance, food, and energy systems. These paradoxes are interconnected, and they recognize that you can't solve one without solving the other. And this starts, first of all, by recognizing that the continent actually loses $500 to $600 billion every year of resources which are not mobilized. This is linked as well to Africa's energy paradox, where Africa has the majority of resources that it needs for energy, both in terms of fossil fuels and in terms of renewable energy, but has not been able to invest in a way that allows it to harness those energy resources. And more than half of Africa currently suffers from an energy crisis, with almost 600 million people not having access to energy. And this directly relates again, therefore, to the food systems paradox, where because of the lack of energy and the lack of investment, African countries are unable to invest in reliable food security.
I'm a survivor of abduction, 8 years in captivity. Nobody ever thought I would go back to school. Having 2 children, all the horrors and so forth, but when I returned home, I told my father one day that I want to go back to school, and he asked me, "Will you manage?" I said yes. I had to learn that conflict happens, war happens, but the past should not define you. We can talk about peace building, but that will not be enough if we don't do actions. We need actions.
What I will say education gave me is the voice to speak. I understand what it means going without food and having to be in class. Students are going through a lot with lacking meals and others have to miss classes just because they can't afford food.
The challenge has been clearly laid out. Africa stands at a crossroads. Not because of a lack of resources, but because of how those resources are mobilized, managed, and connected to people's daily lives. And that's where homegrown school feeding comes in, where vision meets implementation. It is one of the most effective interventions we have to drive progress across multiple goals, quickly, visibly, and inclusively. Research has proven that every dollar invested in home-ground school feeding yields a $9 return. But it is not just about putting food on the table for children. It is a strategic, multi-sector platform for transformation. OSAA has launched the Pen for a Gun campaign to highlight this urgent need. Let's look more closely at its 4 powerful dimensions. The first one, peace and security. By delivering meals in schools, reliable and consistently, governments reestablish their presence in communities. They are not showing up with weapons. They are showing up with food, with services, with care. Homegrown school feeding rebuilds trust between citizens and the state, restoring legitimacy, strengthening the social contract, and creating islands of stability in places vulnerable to recruitment, displacement, and violence. Second dimension, energy access. Rolling out homegrown school feeding isn't just about cooking and logistics. It involves creating community-based management structures, real, functional systems uniting local leaders, parents, teachers, and service providers. These structures can be leveraged beyond providing hot meals to bring off-grid and mini-grid energy solutions into rural communities. Including energy as an integral part of homegrown school feeding turns schools into anchor points for wider energy access. The third dimension, climate adaptation, energy access unlocks resilience. With electricity, schools and communities can adopt climate-smart technologies, smart irrigation systems to secure food production, cold storage to reduce post-harvest loss, weather monitoring to anticipate and respond to climate shocks, clean cooking to protect forests and improve health. Fourth dimension, food systems transformation. At its core, homegrown school feeding connects children to locally grown nutritious food. This means stable, predictable demand for smallholder farmers, creating jobs, boosting livelihoods, and stimulating rural economies. Over time, this link between school meals and local agriculture transforms food systems from the ground up. But to unlock this potential, we must act decisively and together. Homegrown school feeding must be properly budgeted. It must be sustainably financed. Yes, Africa must mobilize domestic resources to own its future. In a world of complex problems, this is something that we can do now. It is scalable, it is proven, and it is urgent. So let us act. Let us nourish minds and futures for peace, resilience, and prosperity. Let us choose the pen, not the gun. Thank you.